the 15 years that Brandex has been around has seen a lot of changes. You know, when we started, it was this niche kind of company where we wrote only exclusively for motion picture advertising. And so that was kind of our selling point. We're going to give you the highest quality library music, but it's going to be only for motion pictures. And in the last 15 years, we've seen really the demand for that really expand. And so now we're used all over the world in many different applications. And so that's also broadened our stylistic approach, the types of music that, you know, we would think would be called trailer music, right, or library music. And so we've been able to really grow stylistically and cover, you know, a big vast genre of styles.
The other thing too is that when we started out, trailer music was either music from another film that had been repurposed for a current trailer, or it was a pop tune or something like that. There was very few companies that were writing custom scores for trailers, so that was an area where John and I were able to be, you know, our slogan, innovators of epic. We were on the front lines for really the birth of this kind of music with some of our notable competitors. But the other thing that happened is library music in general at the time was really seen as a low-budget alternative if you couldn't afford a composer. Mm. And so John and I have really been lucky to be working in a period of time where library music is now not some bad leftover that you use because you don't have anything else to use, but it's become a viable place to get high-quality music. And so for us, as John said, the ability to spread out and to express ourselves musically in different genres, bringing the ultra high quality of Brandex music, but taking that quality and putting it into areas that would, you know, whether it's a beer commercial or whether it's a sports advert or whether it's something for the Olympics, you know, we've had the opportunity to do a lot of other things musically other than just selling movies. But that does remain the core of our business.
Yeah. I think another thing that speaks to that is that early on in my musical career, I had, you know, especially in the early days where I had just a couple of synthesizers and maybe a drum machine and a little Fostex Model 88 track, and I would listen to music that inspired me. And you're always thinking, well, wow, if I only had a record deal, if I only had money to go into the studio and do this, then my music could be really great. Mm. And then at one point, it just occurred to me, you know, at some point you're going to have to take away those excuses. And so it's always been, for the last 20 years, 25 years or so, I've always thought of, okay, so these are the tools that you have. Now you better make the best music that you possibly can with that. And there aren't any excuses. And I think that that's kind of carried us along to really perceive that music can have a really high level of quality. Mm. And it's not dependent on external things, but it's about the notes and the passion and what you really put into it.
I would agree. And so in that spirit, we thought that we'd put together a series of webisodes that would share the passion we have for writing music, the tools we use to create the music, the inspiration we try to find to come up with the next big idea, and just sort of share with you guys the struggles and the successes and sort of what it's like to try to do this for a living. And we're really, really lucky that we've got a pretty good team. We'll introduce you to some of the other individuals that help us create the music, and hopefully we can, you know, give you guys some tips, some information, maybe release you from some struggles if you're dry for an idea. And a lot of the time, even just by hearing that other people have the same struggles is enough to give you a confidence to go back and find a new idea.
Yeah, that's one of the big discoveries that I have made in and find it. There's this idea that somebody who has a career in something, they've kind of arrived and they no longer struggle and they're not striving or it's not hard. And, you know, Tom and I have been fortunate enough to be around some of our heroes and to hear them say that, yeah, every time I wake up every morning, you know, it's another blank page. And it's really true. You know, the creative process can be a very lonely process. And there's this sense that, you know, when we're looking at a blank file or a blank page, that, you know, wow, you know, it's today the day that I have no ideas. And am I going to be able to to write another piece of music as good as what I did already, or am I tapped out? And I think from where we're coming from, it's just a real honest admission that creativity, especially if you're trying to do something new, it hasn't been done before. You have to make a lot of mistakes, and you have to be okay with that. The first time you play a piece of music for somebody, there's so much of you in that, you can feel very vulnerable. And that is, from where we sit and from our experience, that is a very, very common theme. And so first of all, just leveling the playing field, that's really okay.